The hub is engaging.
Freddie.
Yep, Kane.
Hey, listen, party at the Fed.
Already? 20 minutes.
Lobby.
John Maynard Keynes.
F.A. Hayek.
Yeah, we're opposed.
We oppose each other philosophically.
In the same studio.
We've been going back and forth for a century. I want to steer markets.
I want them set free.
There's a boom and bust cycle and good reason to fear it.
Play low interest
No,
rates.
it's the animal spirit. John Maynard Keynes wrote the book on modern macro.
America has been the mother of all inventions because we have been the invention mother for the last 100 and so odd years since the Industrial Revolution, and we have held that distinction for the better part of 110 years over our closest predecessor, I guess, would be China. Had it for 4,000 years prior to us, and Europe, most of Western Europe, knocked them out back in the late 1800s as the mother of the Industrial Revolution. But we took that role. Well, it turns out, according to an organization doing a study on this, the IHS Global Insight, which is a U.S.-based economics consultancy group, that lo and behold, 2011 is going to be a real bad year for the U.S. We no longer hold the distinction that we have had for so long. Chances are highly likely that we're going to lose the distinction. It's been a horse race, mostly between us and China over the last few years, and now they hold our debt and our title. And my question to the panel is, how do we change the ship at this point? How do we reverse this? Because we have been the largest manufacturing nation. They will overtake us in this, and obviously that's been something we built and staked our reputation on. Jerry, where do you fall on this thing, and how do we turn things around?
I got one word for you, Joe. Taxes. Lower them. We got to reform our tax code. Our tax code needs to be in the Smithsonian. It's 71,000 pages long. That's the problem. That's the main reason why we're not innovating.
Yeah.
We got to change our tax code.
Well, and we built this whole system, the free market system, on the likes of F.A. Hayek and Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's any coincidence that the thing was released the same year that our Declaration of Independence was released. We declared our independence from the philosophies of economics that had held the world at bay for so long. And we came up with this model. We've been fighting Keynesian economics. Right now, Europe is throwing in the towel on that. Mm. They've determined that the Keynesian model does not work for them. At the same time, we're trying to ramp it back up. Nate, where do you see, how do you find sanity in all of this?
Well, if you ask me, I honestly think that we need to start buying homegrown products and, stop buying products that are made in China. In addition to the tax code, we need to start supporting American-made businesses and products that are coming out of the United States. And I'm not really a big supporter of globalization. I think that it kind of destroys nations or whatever. So we need to just get back to the made in America type scenario.
Yeah, well, Hal Sirkin is the head of the global operations practice at a Chicago-based firm, Boston Consulting Group, and he recently said, this shouldn't really be a surprise to any of us because, as he put it, you're going up against a country with 4 times the population of the U.S. and a tenth of the wages. It's fairly obvious they will pull ahead at some point in time in productive capabilities. So we really just need a baby-making factory. Right. To pull us back on top. We shouldn't have a moratorium on oil rigs. We should have one on the pill, right? Right?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to support that. I don't think so.
Come on, Whitney.
Well, I think it's funny. In the article, they were talking about the fact that China has been predicted to overtake us for like the past 5 years, every year, by this group, and yet it hasn't happened. And I think it's actually quite miraculous, considering how much we owe China in just dollars, that they're not the industrial leader in the world, that we still are. I think that says a lot for American industrialism.
Yeah. Well, and that's the fact. I guess if we lowered our standards, if we had the same standard of productivity, if we could just sacrifice our workforce, if we could just sacrifice our standard of living, we could catch up, right, Bart? It's just a simple matter of lifestyle changes.
It's not a matter of sacrifice. What we should be doing, I agree totally with Jerry as far as the tax system. That has to be revamped, or we're going to end up like England, which is getting ready to increase their VAT tax, their value-added tax, another 2.5% to help pay for the Olympics that are coming there in a few years. But I think the real crux of the problem boils down to the unions and how they so took over the manufacturing industry in this country to the point where the benefits where an average worker at GM was making twice as much, up around $80,000, $90,000 a year in benefits compared to a worker at Toyota making $40,000, and yet Toyota was producing a better vehicle at that point by all standards. The real problem boils down to the unions, and you can't just bust up unions, but at some point people are going to have to take individual responsibility for their ability to work, and make money instead of waiting for the socialist union to tell them how much they get to make.
Well, it's not a free market society. I mean, how is this a free market society when the inequality between the regulations are so great? I mean, you know how they're doing it. In China, they're doing it. They're making their Lincoln Logs with glit. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Jerry?
Absolutely right. We've got so many. I mean, think about corporate welfare. Think about too big to fail. Think about the fact that our debt, our unfunded liabilities exceed the world's gross domestic product, which is about $58 trillion. Yeah. Our unfunded liabilities exceed that.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers just don't work.
It's an amazing thing. And when you think about it, and you think about several of the candidates here in the state of Georgia where we filmed the Hub Internet show, gubernatorial candidates have said that they would eliminate the corporate income tax.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that as a way to spur economic growth in the state of Georgia. I know a lot of other states are looking about that around that same thing too. I guess in the position of an insurance commissioner, how would you create a less hostile environment for competition? I mean,
in insurance?
Yeah.
Well, we need a first of all, we need to get out of the nanny state mentality. We have 24 states that have either one or two insurance companies that provide 70% of the health care in those states. That's a functional definition of an oligopoly. That's not a free market. So when the progressives tell us that the free market has failed, we haven't had a free market since the Managed Care Act of 1973. So why don't we try one? One way we do that, we open up our borders. We stop telling people, like the nanny state does, where you can buy your insurance. Now, it's not going to be a Wild Wild West scenario. You got to create some standards, but we can do that as a Southeastern compact. Allow our businesses and citizens to go across state lines. We can. You know what that'll do? That'll create competition in Georgia. It'll drive us to lower this ridiculous health care tax that we have in Georgia, which, Joel, is the second highest in the nation. It's almost 5% that we add to the cost of health care, and nobody knows about it because it's hidden. We got 45 mandates. Alabama is kicking our, with 21 mandates, and we have 45 on our health care. I mean, so many things.
And the topic in a 90-second time debate, 45 seconds per person, is a man in Missouri, a 75-year-old man in Missouri recently, who's a farmer there, had a trailer that he put on fronting the highway, U.S. Highway 71, and he put a sign on the side of his trailer. It's his property after all. He was pretty passionate politically, and the sign basically read, "Are you a producer or a parasite? Democrats, party of the parasites." And lo and behold, the thing was, they tried to burn it to the ground, a victim of arson on 3 different occasions. The thing still stands. It's a little hard to read right now, but it still stands. And the question I have is for both of you, do you take down the sign for a disturbance of the peace because it's upsetting the community, or do you leave it up as a free speech right on behalf of the man? Which one do you side with? 90 seconds on the clock, 45 seconds per person. Ladies first. Whitney, you get the first say. Go.
Why, thank you. Well, of course you don't take it down. It's not the sign that's disturbing the peace. It's the people who are burning the sign in the middle of the night or whenever it's happening. I mean, if the community was upset, I think it would be an open act where someone would come up and say, the whole community doesn't want to see this sign in your yard. That's not the case. Someone's doing this inadvertently and not doing it openly. I say put up a video camera so that you can find out who's doing it and then criminally prosecute them for trespassing on your property. He has a right to free speech.
She takes the bar end of July. We'll be watching. We'll be looking for great things out of you. Okay, I don't know where you put the camera in the middle of a field, but that's inconsequential at this point. Nate, 45 seconds on the clock. Go.
Well, I say they have a First Amendment right to say exactly whatever it is they want to say, and honestly, the leeches are just upset because they're calling them out, So they're going to burn a sign now. Like, why are you calling us out like this? You know we're leeches. You're not supposed to be saying this. So yeah, I think that he does have a First Amendment right to put the sign up. I mean, he's not actually disrespecting anybody. He's just voicing his personal opinion about the leeches that are sucking the United States dry.
Okay, so no more leeching. That's what we need. Less leeching. Whitney or Nate, you vote in the comment section of the YouTube video. We will tell you who wins next week. Will Whitney get a regular rotation on the panel, or will Nate dethrone her? We'll see you tomorrow on the Hub.
Steady as she goes.